In 1991, a biology professor leading cutting-edge cryogenic sleep research celebrated a significant milestone. The awakening of a chimpanzee that had been hibernating for 6 months demonstrated the success of his hibernation technology. This success paves the way for new possibilities not only in the field of endangered species conservation, but also for potential human applications, especially in medicine and space. Galvanized by this innovation, 2 men, Albert and Max, volunteer for the first long-term human hibernation experiment. Albert, a biologist devoted to science, is driven by a desire to contribute to human progress and to explore the limits of modern medicine. On the other hand, Max, an adventurer with a complicated relationship with his family, sees hibernation as an escape from domestic tensions and a chance to be part of something historic. During the press conference announcing the start of the experiment, the professor explains in detail the process and goals of the study. He reveals that Albert and Max will be hibernated for 3 years. He also emphasizes the risks involved because despite success with chimpanzees, the human body has significantly greater complexities. Before proceeding with hibernation, in preparing for the long sleep, Albert and Max are led to the hibernation pods. In a moment of staff inattention, the 2 manage to hide some cigarettes and a small flask of alcohol, despite being aware of the strict rules against such substances in the context of the experiment. These items, for them, represent a link to their past lives and a form of rebellion against the strict control they are about to undergo. The hibernation process proceeds smoothly, and after a long cryogenic sleep, Albert and Max awaken. The scene they find before them is completely unexpected. A white, aseptic room, lit by cold lights, where they are greeted by a group of uniformed women who take care of them, offering them an unexpected breakfast. The biggest surprise, however, is the texture of the food they are served. Hard and seemingly inedible, it turns out to be a container for a nutritious paste designed to mimic real food, a novelty that leaves them perplexed and dissatisfied, further highlighting the strangeness of the new world into which they have awakened. After awakening from their long cryogenic sleep, Max and Albert find themselves in a completely foreign and disorienting environment. The room in which they are housed features pristine white walls and cold, impersonal lighting, symbolic of an advanced technology far removed from the reality they remembered. They are greeted by a group of women dressed in neutral uniforms who assist them in the early stages of awakening, offering them physical and mental support. During this phase, they find that the food they are served is extremely hard and tasteless, a kind of capsule designed to contain all the necessary nutrients in a compact form. One of the women, trying to be helpful, explains that these capsules were developed as a practical solution to keep people nourished without the need to cook or prepare traditional meals. This revelation leaves them puzzled and somewhat dissatisfied, as the lack of taste of food proves to be a blow to their spirits already tested by the alienating environment. Later, the situation takes an even more bizarre turn when Max, trying to find some comfort in familiarity, pulls out the cigarettes and flask they had hidden before hibernation. This gesture of rebellion elicits an immediate and drastic reaction. The smoke triggers an alarm, and the women quickly intervene, covering the 2 men with foam to put out the fire, a clear sign that even the smallest actions are under tight control in this new world. When the dust settles, a doctor named Lamia and her assistant approach to check on them. It is during this checkup that Max and Albert, still confused, ask about the professor and his experiment. The answers they receive are disconcerting. The professor no longer exists, and his experiments have been abandoned as a result of a devastating war that struck the world during their sleep. The woman revealed that not only has the professor disappeared, but the entire male population has been almost completely wiped out by the war. This revelation shocks them deeply. They have slept for 53 years, awakening in an unrecognizable 2044 where men are virtually extinct and women have taken complete control of society. This shock prompts them to attempt a desperate escape, but the attempt is in vain. An electrically protected door electrocutes them, knocking them unconscious. When they awaken, still dazed and disoriented, Albert comes up with a theory. This could all be just the second stage of the experiment, a test of their psychological reactions to an extreme situation. Max, however, is less inclined to theorize and more concerned with the tangible reality of their situation. They are the last remaining men and find themselves in a world completely dominated by women. Thus begins for them a journey through the discovery of how society has evolved and adapted in their absence, a bewildering new world where they must find their place. That night, in their new reality, Max and Albert reflect on the profound loneliness caused by the loss of their loved ones and the time they can never regain. The knowledge that they are the last men on Earth makes them feel both precious and incredibly isolated. They promise each other to never again undergo hibernation, an oath they share as they consume the last drops of alcohol they had brought with them. This moment of intimacy between the two turns into a deep mutual understanding, a bond strengthened by sharing a common destiny in a world they no longer recognize. As they try to adapt, the television in their room broadcasts programs about the new reproductive techniques and the matriarchal society in which they find themselves. Max, seeing a potential paradise in this new, women-only land, expresses optimism, but Albert chides him for his levity in considering their situation, emphasizing the gravity of their reality. During a medical examination, Lamia, clearly fascinated by these men from the past, approaches for a checkup. Max, in a flirtatious impulse, attempts a more intimate approach that ends in a stolen kiss, causing a shock reaction in Lamia, who abruptly rejects him. Next, the two are escorted to the biosanctuary, a place that houses animal species that have survived war and radiation. Here, they come across a tree bearing two small apples, symbols of temptation and rebirth. Curiosity prompts them to eat the apples, not knowing that this act would attract the attention of Her Excellency, the community leader, who informs them of the symbolic importance of the tree and the apples, linked to the story of Adam and Eve. Their unintentional action of taking the apples leads to a stern decision to confine them, further reinforcing their sense of isolation and being out of place in this new world. As tensions mount, Albert and Max are forced to confront the new rules and realities of a society that not only survives without men, but seems not to want them at all. During a meeting with the elder, the only one who remembers the world before the war, Lamia seeks advice and reflections on the past. The elder shares tales about the role of men and pre-existing power dynamics, stirring Lamia's inner conflict between her loyalty to matriarchal society and her undeniable fascination with Max and Albert. The debate culminates when it is proposed that Max and Albert undergo naturalization, a surgical process to transform them into women in an attempt to integrate them fully into the new society. The proposal sparks a heated debate between the genetics and archaeofactions, with genetics seeing the two men as subjects for study rather than as human beings. In the confusion of a divided assembly, the two men manage to escape, taking advantage of the general distraction and the guards' unexpected emotional reaction to their kisses, which causes them to faint. Having escaped from the assembly, Max and Albert explore the base, discovering signs of a long-forgotten past and finding a way out through an ancient utility shaft. This leads them to an abandoned part of the city, where they meet a group of anarchists who live on the fringe of society, defying the rules of the oppressive regime. This chance encounter gives them a new perspective on resistance and the possibility of an existence free from government control. The epilogue to their adventure unfolds when, under Lamia's guidance, they discover that the desolation shown to them through the periscope was a sham. The outside world is intact, and the barrier that separated them from freedom was only a veil of fabric. Having cut through the barrier, they look out onto a landscape untainted by radiation, contrary to what they had been told. This revelation changes everything. Max, Albert, and Lamaya decide to stay outside, exploring the freedom and beauty of the real world. While inside the base, their supposed deaths are staged to maintain control over the population. The trio, now free from the constraints of the underground society, embark on a new chapter of their lives in the real world, witnessing the resilience of nature and humanity, and challenging the old order to build a future based on truth and freedom. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave likes and comments. Write in the comments with which movie summary you would like the next video to be made. By subscribing, you will help us bring more and more of this kind of content. Thank you for watching the video.